Hello everyone, my name is TurboTony19 and we're going to be doing Let's Talk Wrestling here today. I'm here with the computer virus that shut down the US military mainframe in Die Hard 4.
I like.
Yeah, very good. I can come up with these things all day, come on.
It's better than prosthetic leg.
Yeah. We're doing Let's Talk Wrestling here today, and we've kind of calmed down from our last episode. We still got a little bit of rage about the whole John Cena thing. We'll go into that and our reasons beyond that, but we're just going to be doing two conversations here today. We've got our normal Raw recap. We go over this week's Raw, what we thought of it, and try and review it if we can. I hate that term review things. I just take things as they are. I don't like to. I say I don't like to nitpick, but we do a wrestling show where we nitpick, so that's a bit of a bad thing. Anyway, second conversation is the whole sort of phenomenon that seems to be going on in the internet wrestling community about the well, not even war of words. It was something that Bret Hart said about Triple H. We'll go into what he said and what we think about them, and
his opinion, but
yeah, exactly. And we don't actually have any ideas for a third conversation. So if you do have any ideas in the future, please send them in. We'd be more than happy to be able to talk about that. And so we might as well get started. If you click number 1 or you just come here from here, we're doing Raw recap. There's a few talking points from Raw recap. I know that yourself, though, Matt, the main thing that you really want to talk about was the whole Shield's involvement and how it seems that John Cena has involved himself into that rivalry.
Well, yeah, it's like now that Cena has got himself involved in the Shield, we all know the past history of what happens when Cena gets a rivalry. Other than The Rock, has Cena ever lost a rivalry?
I was thinking this the other day, and a lot of people were saying there that he lost his rivalry against Punk, but in the end, I don't think he did because he didn't lose clean to Punk and all that. But yeah, no, I agree with you, and he's more than likely gonna beat Rock at Mania. So yeah, go on.
But it's like what we were talking is like it was Ryback who was like feed me Shield, and now sort of it's now Cena and Sheamus. I mean, Grant, it's two people that could very easily work alongside Ryback, but it's just the fact that it's Cena. It's just like, oh yeah, Cena. It's a storyline involving him. The Shield's done for. And WWE are going to have to be quite smart to try and essentially save them from this fate. Because full well the creatives somewhere along the line are going to write, like Sheamus and Ryback are down. It's down to Cena. Oh my fucking god, he won.
Yeah.
He pins the three of them simultaneously somehow.
He does a view on all of them, yeah, or something like that, yeah. I fully agree with you, and I was very shocked to see Cena in a rivalry involving the Shield, because it doesn't seem to make that much sense, because there's no way the Shield are going to come out of this looking good, and yeah, in a rivalry against Ryback and Sheamus, yeah, sure, that's fine. I mean, whatever they want to do with them, it wasn't bad television. But it seems like they're just doing this thing with John Cena because CM Punk is still feuding with The Rock, and it's just not his time to feud with The Rock.
Yeah, they needed filler for Cena at the moment.
Which kind of dilutes the storyline. That, like I said, it kind of dilutes the fact that Ryback's been going after him all this time and saying, "Feed me, Shield." He's been having this rivalry with Shield all the way back to when he was screwed out at Survivor
3 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
they put it on because they showed it on Raw. It's like, 3 months ago the Shield arrived, and they see Ryback getting triple powerbomb through a table, and now it's just like, yeah, I mean Ryback could do it, but nah.
Yeah, it's almost like it's just because they attacked Cena once, that makes him more into this rivalry than Ryback has been in the last 3 months. It doesn't make much
Cena
sense.
hasn't actually earned anything he hasn't necessarily lost anything as a result of the Shield.
Yeah, exactly. And I fully agree. It's like it seems a bit silly to me, and the fact that he came out first, he seems to be leading this group of Sheamus, Ryback, and Cena against.
Well, I saw on NoDQ it was referred to as Team Cena. It's like, well, that's just because Cena's in it. Unfortunately, that's going to be the case.
Yeah. And for a fact that even if the Shield win, they're not going to pin Cena legitimately, especially this close to the Rumble and the run that he's on as well.
Yeah.
That WWE have no plans to let the Shield go over on Cena, none whatsoever, and it's a bad move. I understand where they're going for in the sense that they don't want us to lose this close to Mania. I get that, but why would you put him in a situation where against the Shield, against the Shield, who are rising stars. Like
Yeah.
it's a point of squashing the rise of other wrestlers.
It's as we sort of covered last week. It's
Yeah.
just, well, it's Cena squandering other people
Yeah,
again.
it just seems a bit like they didn't really help themselves with the whole situation, and especially with the internet wrestling community, fans and
Who are actually quite onto the Shield. I mean, I enjoy the Shield
yeah,
as a faction. Because I'm a big fan of factions. I've got a Nexus hoodie, for Christ's sake.
yeah,
But like the Shield are an interesting team that just come out and they mix it up. Loads of people are like, oh, they should just like piss off, and like, why are they even here? It's like because they're here to make it interesting.
yeah. And it's always interesting when they come out as well, which is like good on them. We've been high on the Shield since their arrival in WWE. We've always said it's been good television, but just goes back to what you said earlier. Like there's nothing good can come out of this for the Shield or Ryback for that matter, except for the only person that's going to come out of this little rivalry that they're doing is John Cena, who doesn't need it. He is an established wrestler. He's an established personality. He didn't need the Rumble win. He doesn't need this rivalry. If you wanted him to have a filler rivalry, there's plenty of other people you could have done it with. But this is the way that the WWE creative want. They're going to make Cena beat the Shield most likely and look badder than ever, and the Shield are going to look worse off for it. And it's a big ball dropped by WWE creative, and it just seems that after all these years, and we're going back into more what we said last week, but after all this time, they still don't understand their fan base. And I mean, if there's a wrestler out there that I'd like to see beat the Shield, it would be Ryback, a rising star who I believe still needs to be established more. I mean, yeah, he's still over with the fans, but he needs to be winning matches, and he needs to be finally winning a pay-per-view match. And so, if they were going to choose anyone,
what's he doing at the moment? He's feuding with Cesaro.
Yeah.
I mean, the pair of them create good matches, but.
Yeah, but that's it, I mean, he's getting matches over Cesaro, but it's much different than having that. I mean, that's the filler rivalry. It smells of it, and his whole rivalry against the Shield is the real one that's going on. And it just seems like if they're going to build up to a climactic finish, it was a little bit like what they did with The Rock, if you look at it in that sense. That they built up this massive sort of WWE Championship title run, and they finished it at Royal Rumble. Why didn't they elongate that till WrestleMania and made it special then? If they're really going to make someone to go in and beat the Shield, why don't you make it at WrestleMania? That's the place where the faces emerge triumphant.
It's the hero's moment.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where everything builds up to, and after all this time of Ryback getting screwed over, that would be the perfect time for him to get his own back on the grandest stage of them all. But yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed with it. I know that you are. But let's have a looking forward to this though. In terms of Elimination Chamber, do you think they're going to have a match at Chamber? I mean, it certainly seems that way.
Well, it's looking. Apparently it's been like announced because Cena apparently called it after Raw went off the air. But it's not going to be a Chamber, and as it looks like, it's going to Elimination Chamber is going to take the same path as Hell in a Cell.
Yeah,
it's a pay-per-view with a theme, with one match of that theme.
Yeah,
and it's just like that's naff.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people might be critical. They might be saying, yeah, well, you want to make it special, so you only want one chamber. But if they're doing a themed show, it seems a bit odd that they would only do one of that match, especially when there's two brands, and WWE still wants to convey to the audience that both brands are as big as each other. So it just doesn't make much sense. And
no.
Especially even then, if you say, okay, no, they don't. They always say that Raw's a flagship show. Raw's not going to have an Elimination Chamber match, so it kind of doesn't make much sense. But this is just the way they seem to be going with it nowadays, and like you say, it would be quite interesting to have maybe this elimination style. You have one-on-one, you get a 50-50 chance if a Shield member
it's going to be
Cena's guys come in.
Well, it's going to turn into 2-on-1, but in whose favour?
Yeah, exactly, and then that way, it would be it would be an interesting take on an Elimination Chamber match that would incorporate the whole sort of theme of the show, and you've got good enough wrestlers, good enough personalities. I mean, the Shield can definitely go in a hardcore sort of environment. So that would have been interesting, but they're probably not going to go with that, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm in agreement with you there. That is, I don't think it's the right move, and I think it smells of filler match, and of course it does this close to Mania.
Yeah.
But there could have been other guys they could have picked. But I mean, is there anything else really that you want to say about that at all, or?
Not particularly, no.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's now it's just that point now where it's just like, well, we'll just see how it plays out.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And it's like I said, it's a filler rivalry. It's not going to mean that much at the end of the day. And as soon as Elimination Chamber finishes, Cena is not going to be around the Shield. You know what I mean? That's just not the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, they might get involved maybe because they think The Rock shouldn't have won the title, blah blah blah. But it's not going to matter in the end. It's going to be all Cena and Rock. So there's a few other talking points on Raw though, and one of them of which as well is that Mark Henry made his return.
Woo.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good enough return. I mean, he came back in some of his slams looked good. He definitely got a good response from the crowd as well. So it's okay, but it's at this point now that long-time wrestling fans like you and me, we're not really excited because you know this isn't going to be a huge deal. He might get a run.
It's not a rising up and coming star. I mean, Mark Henry, unfortunately, Mark Henry's never truly impressed me. I hate to say that because he's a sound wrestler, but he's never. I don't know. I mean, like the whole matches that he had with Big Show for a while. It was a while back, but it was just like, well, this is fun. It's like just two like essentially super heavyweights, real slow match.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it got worse. I think they had like a group of matches, didn't they? And it just got worse and worse.
Yeah.
And going on. I mean, I enjoyed Henry's recent heel turn, but I know a lot of people share
the House of Pain
it's
or
sort
Ball
of
of Pain, or whatever, wasn't it?
It's sort of 50-50. Some people were happy with it. Some people were like, share the same view as you that it's nothing that special, and if he's going to get a push, okay, but like he's been around for long enough, and he's sort of like it was almost like a lot of people, he'd been at mid-card for so long, and then suddenly they tried to make this push-up. Well, because he'd been mid-card for that long, a lot of people didn't accept him as main event, which is the thing that they're going to have a lot of the problem with a lot of the mid-carders that they have. If they stay in mid-card too long, they're not going to get up that high.
They just sort of go stale in the mid-card, right?
Yeah, I mean, Kofi Kingston's one of them. Unfortunately, I think Dolph Ziggler's got a little bit of that as well. Because
Ziggler's definitely trying to work his way out of it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to take a while, and obviously WWE Creative aren't. I mean, while they're pushing him and everything, they're giving him all these accolades and everything. He's still not main event world champion, and they don't have him in the forefront to push him now, at very least not now. So that's part of it as well. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was okay. I mean, him coming back, I mean, it's definitely going to make SmackDown a bit more interesting for the short term. And it's interesting now that they brought him back now this close to Mania. So you might have something to do with how they want to set up WrestleMania or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That was a slight talking point. There's a few others though. I mean, obviously you've got the Paul Heyman sort of storylines going forward, and they had Brad Maddox, who was involved in that Shield fracas that they had. He's coming out. I don't really know what they're doing with him, if they're trying to make him sort of face or heel. I guess they're doing is he's his own character.
Well.
I mean, I guess with Maddox, he's been giving a lot of freedom in terms of how he wants to convey this sort of character forward, and he's sort of his self. He's not really face or heel by any means. In all fairness to him,
he's a man in the ring.
Yeah, in all fairness to him, he's actually a bit more of a different personality than a lot of the people out there. I mean, he comes off as smarmy, and a lot of people don't like him for that. But the fact is that he kind of portrays this kid that is just trapped in this sort of in a man's game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which comes off well in terms of the storyline that he's in. I mean, like I said, there was a few other talking points from Raw. Let's talk about the overall quality of Raw. I mean, how would you rate Raw as a whole?
I quite enjoyed Raw, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it really all just came down to the fact that I was in awe when it came to the Raw Active match.
Oh yes, very much. Yeah. A lot of people calling that the match of the year, decade, like the early contender. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I like just watching it. I was just like, that's a match that Bret Hart would not say was a 4 out of 10.
Yeah. That
was a sound match.
Yeah. There's a very good advertisement for ground-based wrestling as well. So, brilliant match for them. Do you think that was better than their Mania match? A lot of people saying that it actually was.
I wouldn't say so. It's different, though. It's a different style of match, because with Mania, it was like this whole Jericho, your family's a drunk your mums are drunk, your sister's on drugs, and all that lot.
Yeah.
And it was more of a personal attack,
Yeah.
sort of Punk just trying to defend his name, sort of thing, rather than a match.
Yeah.
Which it was on Raw.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was a. I couldn't say.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm sort of trying to come up with an answer, but I can't. I don't have one.
Yeah. I mean, my view on it is as well. I mean, a lot of people saying that their WrestleMania match didn't live up to expectations. For me, it did, because it was a very good ground-based wrestling match, and that's what I appreciate. But you got to think of where WrestleMania was based last year and the other matches that are around it. You had the Hell in a Cell match. You had Rock versus Cena. It had a lot of very marquee names.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Punk and Jericho, their work is done in the ring, not outside of it. So the build up to their match maybe wasn't as monumental as the other ones. And so fans of old style wrestling really enjoyed the match. Like myself. But yeah, no, I think it was fine. And their match was very, very good, and it's always high quality. It showed that Jericho is still able,
hasn't skipped a beat.
Yeah, he'll be able to work a great match with the majority of the roster who are able to wrestle up to the quality that he has.
Yeah, if they're on par with Jericho, they can have an amazing match.
Yeah. He's a good benchmark, and he's one of those people like Bret Hart was back in the day, where he could wrestle a lot of different people and have a fantastic match with them, which is a great trait to have, especially in WWE when they have so many people of sizes and styles and everything like that. So yeah, he's a guy that when he eventually retires, they will miss. The impact that he can have, and the longevity. Jesus, man, the longevity of his career is astounding.
I mean, if you think back to and he was the first ever, they mentioned it on Raw, the first ever undisputed champion.
Yeah.
It's what you mean, who he beat Stone Cold and Triple H for.
Yeah, and that was technically almost midway through his career, because he spent a load of time in WCW and time in WWE leading up to that moment.
Not to mention the amount of time he spent over in Japan as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Jericho's a travelled wrestler. I mean, he's mentioned it a few times in his book that it's his problem with the current roster is the fact that loads of people just come in, like Alex Riley, for example, a young superstar, good look, but very inexperienced.
Yeah. And it shows in the ring as well. They're unconfident. A lot of people give Ryback that sort of stick as well, that he's inexperienced. But I tell you what, he looks a hell of a lot more confident than a lot of the guys they bring in from developmental. But the thing is with wrestling as well is that if you're a powerhouse, or even if we'll take Alex Riley as an example, as long as you're doing your moves with some sort of conviction, they're going to look good, because he looked a little bit like he was still trying to prove a point or something. They were. It didn't look legitimate, you know what I mean?
He looked like he had the whole his trainers out the back, I'm going to be watching your match sort of thing.
Yeah, it's almost like these wrestlers, when they bring in, they have the back thought of, when they're doing this match, I hope this looks good, rather than I'm going to do this, you know what I mean? And it kind of comes out. But so yeah, no, I agree with you. And he's one of those seasoned wrestlers that, like Bret Hart, that they'll miss when he's gone, because he proved again in that match, but he's proved time and time again that he can pull a great match on any show, no matter what. And he's one of the best, I think, in shape wrestlers that have ever been in the ring. So yeah, fantastic match from him. And I think, though, I mean, I'm going to be a little bit more critical of Raw. I think that in terms of an overall Raw, I thought it was a bit poor. I thought that they're
to be perfectly honest, I didn't turn around and say it was all great.
Yeah,
that was the salvage for me.
I think that the ending of Raw was a bit poor. I think that
involved Cena.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought it was a bit poor. I thought that a lot of the other mini storylines that they were doing were a bit poor. I thought the whole Brock Lesnar thing was a bit poor. And also, one thing I want to bring up about Brock Lesnar as well is that he seems to be working extremely stiff with a lot of these wrestlers. I don't know if it's just me or if that's what he's going out with.
But he was very stiff on his first run back, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, it comes into the thing that he could have easily have F5'd Miz into that sofa and done. I
genuinely thought he did.
Yeah, and
for a while, and then obviously you saw that video part where it's actually Miz getting clocked in the face, like genuinely clocked in the head by that chair.
Yeah, and
And
it's
it's just
like,
like,
is he dangerous? Like, are WWE just letting him go for the sake of ratings, and like a lot of people don't want to work with him? I would wonder what they're doing with this, because if he's purposely going out with this sort of UFC mentality of, I know he's not coming out saying I want to hurt people, but he's definitely being very physical and very um, a little bit reckless with his moves. And so what I would say is that maybe WWE want these ratings so bad they're kind of letting him get away with it in that sense. And I don't know how they're going around it. Maybe he asks them before, I'm going to be a little bit more physical if you don't mind. I would see Miz as being one of those guys of, yeah, if you want to slam me extra hard if it looks better, do it. He's one of those
yeah,
guys. So I don't know, but it's one of those things that is interesting to look at. That maybe he's one of these people that comes in thinking I'm bigger than WWE, and
yeah,
I,
I'm more than just WWE sort of
yeah,
thing.
so I
Yeah,
can do what I like. I want to be more UFC style with these guys. I'm going to be, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Um, yeah, I mean the fact is that he's not a WWE guy in the sense he will drain them for more money and he will get the best deal he can. He doesn't have he doesn't have wrestling or WWE's best intentions in mind. It's always been Brock Lesnar, and I'm not going to say that's bad or good. He's looking out for himself and that's the way you do it. But that definitely changes the style of wrestling that he goes forward from then. It's just a little bit thing to look at future Raws. Maybe give us your thoughts. Maybe do you think that his maybe is there something wrong there if you think so or anything along those lines? Um, but yeah, I mean, is there anything else really from Raw that you wanted to chat about there at all? Or?
um, I don't quite like the Del Rio thing.
Yeah, that was okay. Yeah,
Especially it's just like, oh, and if you come track me down, it's and then Del Rio genuinely gets the one up over Big Show. It's like, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But that was about it. It's like I did quite like, it's like I don't do birthday tweets, I don't do this. Like Big Show's like, nope, shut up, shut up. I'm talking, and then it's just like, oh,
Yeah. It was. I thought it was a good, and it's good to have those sort of like you don't need to make those promos long, but it did its job, and I tell you what, that's going to look good in a pre-match video,
yeah.
going into one of those things, them
And
fighting in
it's
a
it's been a
hotel or
while
anything.
since WWE genuinely used a location that wasn't the arena they're currently in.
Yeah, and that's why it was kind of refreshing, as well to kind of have that, and I didn't mind seeing it. It was predictable because you knew he would turn up, but no, I think Del Rio as a face is really coming into his own. I think also what's good for his character, which a lot of characters don't do, is that he acknowledges that he was a heel before and he makes sort of amends for it. Sometimes they come and they be a face and there's sort of not much reason for it. The Miz did that as well. He just suddenly
Yeah,
became face. There wasn't much reason. He just was.
yeah. And
Whereas
Del
yeah,
Rio's been around, just like basically saying, just like, oh, I know I used to be a bit of a dick, sort of thing.
yeah, and it makes him more believable, his face turn as a whole, and I think that helps people getting behind him. Nothing gets people more behind someone who comes out as like that sort of I'm sorry I've done this, I beg for forgiveness, I'm going to give it my all, and it builds that face sort of mentality. So I think that does well for him. So I think yeah, he's doing quite well. I think as a face of SmackDown, and I think his title run is something very good. I mean, I wasn't too sure at the beginning, but yeah, I'm coming around to
Mm.
that now. I think he's much better face than he was a heel. He didn't seem believable as a heel. So yeah, that's
I mean, I obviously must have should watch SmackDown from time to time. So I don't know if you had the same thought. I was like, where's Rodriguez?
yeah, yeah, I did. And then they showed the flashback and stuff. Yeah, and then he is.
And it's like, oh, okay. It's like,
Yeah.
someone's missing.
Yeah. I thought it would have been good with Rodriguez, though, just to add in before we switch the conversation. I thought it would have been good for Rodriguez, maybe, if leading up to WrestleMania, if he got really badly injured by Big Show, that you actually take him out until WrestleMania, and everyone's going on, where's Rodriguez? Rodriguez. And the moment he comes back and announces for Del Rio at Mania, that would be a really good moment for the fans and a memorable
Yeah,
moment. It would be his return. He could go all out, and all the big fireworks, all this pizzazz. But obviously that kind of, I don't know if they'll go that road. It's not particularly important. I just thought it'd be a neat idea that they could go
be a
with.
good
But
little thing to do. Yeah,
yeah, but regardless, not too bad. And they're doing this sort of match. Like I said, every match that that they do these rematches on SmackDown, which they seem to do with the title. They did it with Sheamus went against Big Show 3 times, and now Del Rio's going to go against him 3 times. It just doesn't seem they do this over and over again. So I'm not expecting a great match at Elimination Chamber, but it will do its purpose, I guess.
It will serve its purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, is there anything else from Raw at all that you want to fit in just before we go on?
No, not off the top of my head.
No problem. So if you would have pressed number 2, you'll be listening to my voice now, and we have already talked about Raw recap. So we will talk about our second conversation, which is Bret Hart he sent out a few tweets first of all in regards to Triple H, and then he had an interview where he elaborated more on it, and it's sort of become this sort of like this internet thing that's going around at the moment. Basically, he said that. He rated Triple H's match with Taker a 4 out of 10. This is the one at Mania. This is the one that won, I think, match of the year.
Match of the year, yeah.
He rated it 4 out of 10, and he said he was being generous, and he wouldn't rate Triple H as one of the top 1,000 wrestlers in the world.
He wouldn't call him great.
Yeah. He said he was a very good wrestler, but he would never call him great. Now, before we go into a lot of this, I want to elaborate. A lot of people are going into their reasons saying, oh, maybe Bret Hart has problems with Triple H and everything. You have to listen to his interview to get a lot of insights into that, and it's sort of like tabloid journalism where you can pick out bits and it makes a story.
I'm guilty of this.
Yeah. I mean, if you actually listen to the interview, and we're not going to just disprove it and end the conversation, we'll go into maybe the reason why, but he actually goes into it and he says a lot along the lines of, I only knew him from a certain period, and from that period, I wouldn't rank him in the top 1,000. So he didn't judge him from after that point, and he went into his innovation and stuff like that. But he made it a very poignant part in that. I mean, you must have seen it in the interview where he said, I only wrestled with him or knew him from like 97 to 99, whatever times he said. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
So bear that in mind. During that time, I wouldn't have ranked him in the top 1,000 wrestlers of all time during the years that Bret Hart was at the company, because he wasn't champion. He hadn't been world champion at that point. I don't even think that the whole DX thing had started at that point that much anyway.
No.
So yeah, that's how that is. So that kind of disproves itself. The other 4 out of 10 thing as well is he's an old time wrestler. You got to remember that Bret Hart as well he's a wrestler back in the days where you used to have an hour time limit and matches.
He's a wrestler.
Matches used to last that hour, and it was mat based wrestling the entire way through. When you look back at that match, while it was, I'll stand up and it is a great match, but it's a great match in the sense of the entertainment factor.
It was a great storytelling.
Yes, it wasn't a fantastic wrestling match, and that's what he's alluding to. There wasn't much mat-based wrestling. There was a lot of chair shots, finisher moves, stuff to do with the cell, and the Hell in the Cell.
It was big and flash.
Yeah, it served. It's not a bad match. But it's not a very... If you were looking at it in terms of an actual wrestling match and without the grunge and everything like that, yeah, I can kind of see where he's coming from. I think he is exaggerating a bit too much. I mean, even as that, I wouldn't rank it that low. But, I mean, what's your overall thoughts on it? I've talked loads on
I think it's just because he has the valid point, and as you touched on, is the fact that Bret Hart is a very old school wrestler, and he mentioned it as the fact that there is, like, Bret Hart's of a time where it was, rather than now where talent would literally go out and beforehand, like, someone at creative would turn around and go, right, you have 20 minutes, this is what your 20 minutes will be.
Yeah.
Like, Bret Hart is of a time where it was literally, you have 20 minutes.
There you go. Yeah, and...
Yeah, you're the third match, you've got 20 minutes, make something up, you're going over.
Yeah. They basically give you the winner. His match against Ric Flair, they didn't have any spots planned. It was all improvised. That's the one where he won his first title. Can you imagine that? So yeah,
it's just like it's the whole. It's it's going on back onto the what was it? The Ringmaster as a Stone Cold's gimmick for a while.
Yeah.
But it is that sort of thing. It's the fact that I mean, I wouldn't think that. It's Triple H and The Undertaker. I wouldn't think that their WrestleMania match was one of those, and then you hit me with a chair, and then I hit you with a chair, and then Shawn Michaels will super kick you. But it's really just a different style of wrestling,
Mm.
and granted, a good wrestling match can tell a story, but they were summarizing it as the end of the era, like the penultimate. Like they couldn't really have done a wrestling match.
Yeah, and one of the things he alluded to in his interview as well is that he said there's a lot of factors that go into that. One of them being Undertaker's health, and they have to take that into account. The fact that he might not be able to. I mean, this is listen. I'm a huge Undertaker fan, but anyone who knows knows the business and can just see. He's getting older. He's not going to be able to perform for that much longer, and
Yeah,
they wouldn't be able to do the style of match that Bret Hart would enjoy. And that's just it. It's not him being disrespectful in that fact, and like I said, he makes reference in his thing that about the whole top 1,000 wrestler thing is that he's doing it from when he knew Triple H. He wasn't there for Triple H's rise to superstardom. The 10 times world champion. I don't know how many times he ended up winning it, but
whereas Bret Hart put the 1,000th time champion.
yeah, he goes. Like the fact is that like he wasn't there, and he's not going to judge him on that, and it's just something that Bret Hart is a very well-spoken person. I think that his comments came out badly. That's why he elaborated them on that interview. But the majority of the time, he's a very well-spoken, respectable person. But
Yeah.
I do also think there's some where there's smoke, there's hot fire. You know that he's not Triple H's biggest fan. Because of what happened before and the fact that he may have made peace with Shawn Michaels, but Triple H probably had his hand in a lot of what happened in the Montreal Screwjob back then. I'm not going to go into obviously this and that. They're all older now, and I don't know the back. I wasn't there in Montreal '97, so I don't know. But the fact is that maybe there is a little bit of animosity there. It's not hard to think that there would be.
Oh yeah, it definitely wouldn't be an impossible thing to think of.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, from someone that I'm in a long time Bret Hart fan, and yeah, I'm sure I'm going to defend what he says. But if you look at it legitimately, I mean, I'm a big Triple H fan as well. I think that he gets a lot of stick for marrying Stephanie and
It was a business decision.
Yes, yeah, like that. But he's a lot better than a lot of people, than some of the people that give him credit for. He's not one of the greatest of all time. He's not. In my opinion, I don't think he's as good as Bret Hart. I don't think he's good as Triple H as HBK, but he is very, very good. In fact, in terms of selling an epic rivalry, he is one of the best. And he has that sort of intense sort of feel, and he's a great personality. I think he is one very, very great wrestler. And if you package him all together, you know what I mean. If I was in another company, he would be one of the guys I could build a company around because of his personality, his character, how he goes about his matches,
or his image as well.
His image, yeah, exactly. Everything like
it's
that.
Like the one thing is like when he has a rivalry, it's just like the moment his music hits and he's stood there in jeans and the jacket, and you're just like, he's gonna kind of fucking kick your ass.
Yeah, it's that sort of. But like
he's coming down for business.
Yeah, but like you said earlier on, it's two very different types of wrestling matches that they're alluding to. Bret Hart, he could make a very, very good, impactful ground-based wrestling match. But you can draw similarities to his match with Austin, with the match that he's criticizing. Before I get rage and everything, and people going, it's not the same match. How dare you say that? I understand, but what I'm saying in terms of the physicality of it, there's a lot of similarities, and so. And I'm a firm believer, we said this before, that his match against Austin at Mania 13 was my favourite match of all time. So,
yeah.
And also one of his favourite matches as well. He, in his interviews and everything like that. But like he said, it's two different styles of wrestling. One is more impactful, it's more for the fans, and one is more for the art form of wrestling. But what do you think? Do you think there's going to be more that carries on here? Do you think maybe Triple H is going to come back, or do you think there's anything? Do you think maybe this is a grand plan for WWE to make a rivalry or something along those lines? Is there something here?
I wouldn't say so. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be, oh no, he disrespected me and all that lot. I mean, it's not like they're going to have a Triple H Bret Hart match.
Yeah.
It's like times like that, like it's over for that.
Yeah.
For anything even close to. So No, I don't think anything will come of it. There'll probably be an interview where Triple H turns around and says, "Fair enough."
Mm.
You know, Triple H is known to be a very respectful person,
Mm.
and I don't think he's going to turn around and just go, "Oh, well, fuck him."
Yeah, especially now he's the face of the company. He has to be very careful about what he says. And Bret Hart is a legend of the business, and you pull a certain weight with that name. I mean, the fact is
Yeah,
that because, like I said, Triple H is. You have to take him that the fact is that he is half a businessman now, and he's part of creative. He's part of what happens backstage. So his voice isn't just his voice, but it carries the WWE stigma with it. So he's not stupid. He's not going to come out and go and F and blind and say that guy's a moron. This guy's a moron. In fact, if he felt like he was going to say that, he'd probably stay silent, and he probably won't make any sort of statement about it at all.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's an intelligent guy. He's not going to risk his position or the company that he's going to basically get from Vince McMahon over a petty little thing like this. When I think he's intelligent enough as well to read between the lines. So yeah, I don't think it's as big as a lot of people are making out. I mean, I've heard comments saying this is going to be a huge bust up,
Well,
and
to be perfectly honest, do you not think at some point between now and then, like, but sort of back when he had the match, he's not heard that wasn't a wrestling match before.
mm,
You know, he's surrounded by the business. I'm pretty sure somewhere along the lines, somebody's turned to him and said, "Oh, that was an amazing storytelling match, but that wasn't an amazing wrestling match."
I think people in the back wouldn't have dared say that to him, and that's just because of the sort of culture that's around WWE now. That a lot of the wrestlers in the back, there's very few
Oh,
out
no,
there.
no, no. I'm not talking about like the lowliest of the low sort of person,
Yeah,
but all the people who, like JR, like JR's voice carries a lot of weight, even if it's not very clear half the time.
yeah.
But, you know, I'm sure someone, I mean, didn't even JR call it?
Yeah, JR liked it, and he backed up Triple H when he was asked to as well about the comments made. So yeah, no, I completely agree with you about that. But yeah, there's really not much really more we can talk about that. We've gone into it as much as we can. But if you guys have any thoughts about it, send us any messages and comments and everything like that. If you think
Yeah,
there's
we do
something
nothing
into it.
but speculate, so.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's it for this week. I'm glad that you guys have listened to us. And we'll be back next week with our kind of build up to Elimination Chamber. I think Chamber is next weekend, isn't it? Is it
Week,
or is
not
it?
this Sunday, Sunday after.
Oh, okay. So we've got another week anyway. But so send us any of the ideas that you have for ideas and suggestions for our conversation, our discussion. But thanks for joining us this week. It means a lot, and we got a bit of response on our last video. So thank you a lot for that.
That's all
Um,
good.
but yeah, if you like the video, please hit a like and subscribe for more Let's Talk Wrestling. Thanks a lot.
See you guys next week.
Bye bye.
Bye.